Hello, my friends. I am going on live. And if you really want to test something out for yourself, trying something new, this is definitely something new for me. This is the first time I've ever gone live on YouTube, but I have lots to say, and I really want to take this opportunity to try something new. And today I want to talk about authenticity and the reason why I believe that it's very important. But before we get to that point, I want to tell you a little bit about who I am. So, my name is Christina Hawley. I have been in corporate for 20 plus years in senior HR leadership roles for multiple organizations, big and small. But during COVID, my life shifted as it did for many people. And I wrote a book. And this book is called Authentic You Unleash Your Leadership Potential. And there is a lot of magic in this book. It's really about helping people to align to what authenticity is. There's a lot of people out there that like to use these token words, but it's really not authentic. So an example would be someone who just blasts you and kind of says there's and thinks that it's okay to behave like that because they're being authentic. That is not what authenticity is, at least not for me. Authenticity is really being in alignment with who you are, owning your story, and being coming from a place of truth and self-acceptance. It's actually a really beautiful thing when you learn to sit in that place as something that is wonderful. So, you know, I am more interested, and this is what really came through for me when I started writing this book was, you know, everybody loves to tell you the stories where everything's fantastic and great and, everything is perfect. I am not interested in those stories. Yes, I'm very happy for you that you have these stories in your life, but I'm much more interested in the stories where you had adversity and challenge because it is in those stories where true inspiration lies. True inspiration, because that is where you learn how to adapt, you learn how to pivot, you learn how to persevere when life gets tough, and you actually shift into a whole other level of learning when you're going through stuff. And no one's saying that it's easy, not by any means. I have my own personal stories that I have had to deal with. But what I am saying is that it is something that when you learn to own it and you stop hiding from your stories because of things like fear, shame, judgment, things where you think that you will be perceived as less because of who you are, then you are truly stepping into your power. Then you're stepping into this place of empowerment. And authenticity is all around you being in alignment with your true self. And that's a whole other discussion. But that is definitely something that is really important for you to align in order for you to live your best life. So, today what I want to talk about is, what are some signs that you are an authentic leader? And the reason why I put authenticity and leadership together, one, it's because of the history of what I've, my whole career, it was about developing leaders and coaching conversations and whatnot. But a lot of times people would come up and they would be like, oh, Christina, make me a leader, make me a leader. And I'm like, well, you haven't even connected with yourself yet. So where are you in the equation? And bring all your awesomeness to the table. And once you can do that and step into your authenticity, magic happens. Then really great things happen because you're less likely to get triggered. You're less likely to operate in a place of fear. You're actually in a whole different league, because at that point you're stepping in from a place of connection with self, and you're going to motivate and inspire others. That's why owning your story, your adversity stories, though they're magic, that you should embrace them as the learnings. I'm not asking you to go into deep, into the scars. Let's just talk about the overall scar. And then we can talk about how you persevered. What did you learn? So the reason why I put the two together really is because when you go through adversity in your life, when you learn to own those stories, these skill sets emerge. And the skill sets are like adaptability, you learn to pivot, you have resilience. You really know that you can do things that you never thought that you were able to do. And when you have that behind you, you're like, okay, well, I'm willing to take risk. I'm willing to try things. And the reason why it's really important from a leadership perspective is that this is what we need. These traits, we need this from leaders these days. Sometimes people don't realize that they have all these gems hidden within, but they're not willing to do the work to kind of really identify that. They're more interested in following a mold about where they should go or who they should be. And that could be a bit of a problem. The work that I do is helping leaders to reconnect with who they are and helping organizations to connect with those leaders. And then that sets up the overall culture, which becomes an amazing place to work because you have leaders there that can truly lead and inspire from a whole different place. They are not leading from position. They are leading from a place of empathy, confidence. There is a balance between mind and heart. This is the sweet spot, guys. This is what you actually really want. So let's talk today and see if, some of these top 10 tips, not tips or signs that you are an authentic leader. Let's see how that actually shows up for you. So let's see. I would call out is self-awareness. Okay. Do you have self-awareness? This is very important. My book here, I know you probably can't see it fully, but my book here is all about self-awareness, going on that personal explore, going a little bit deeper and understanding who you are, right? Do you know what kind of vibe you give when you show up in a room? Can you read how others are responding to you? If you can, then that's a gift. That is a sign of authenticity because you are aware of your overall presence. Okay. Another one, number 2, I would say would be transparency. Are you transparent or are you just shady? Like, I can't stand shady business. So when you're authentic, you actually can read when someone else is being shady. So when I say shady, it's like not telling the truth, kind of being evasive or subversive with your behaviors. That's shady. When you're operating from a place of authenticity, you are going to operate from a place of truth, right? You have nothing to hide. And the good, the bad, the ugly, you can have those difficult conversations and it's okay. Which brings us into number 3. Are you honest? Authenticity for me really is living in truth, living in alignment with the truest source possible that resides within, right? So are you living honestly, or are you kind of living a bit of a lie, or are you living someone else's life? Someone said to me, and it really stood with me, it's like, are you living your life, which is based out of truth, or are you living someone else's, which is based on what we think some of those expectations are as we're moving into different space? Something to think about. Another one, number 4, would be a strong sense of self. Do you have confidence in who you are? Do you love yourself? And I know it sounds like a silly point to make, but 95% of the people do not know how to love themselves, right? Truly love themselves. It is more than manis and petties. It is really sitting in that space where you show up from a place of compassion and empathy and really know that you have good intention when you show up in the world. A strong sense of self, like knowing who you are and what you represent. And believe it or not, as you go more into this place of authenticity, it lines up closer to what your purpose is in life. And we all have a purpose, and think about where you are landing in that place of purpose, right? Are you in alignment with it, or are you living somebody else's life, which is further away from authenticity? The other one, number 5, would be, are you comfortable in your own skin? So when I say that, if you're not comfortable in your own skin, this is quite interesting. If you're not comfortable in your own skin, you will probably do things that might be against your best judgment. You might be trying to go with the crowd, following a mold, instead of listening to yourself. You are wonderful just as you are. And tapping into yourself, and this is the work that I do, is like really trying to get people to identify what their superpowers are, what are their gifts that they are meant to bring to this world. You can't get there if you're not comfortable in your own skin, right? If you're always worried about what other people are thinking, or if you have self-doubt. This is stuff that, you know, I really think that everybody could use some work in. And once you're comfortable in your own skin, no one can shake you. You are who you are. And, you know, again, if you're truly in alignment with authenticity and your true self, you're operating from a place of love, empathy, compassion, kindness, gratitude, all high vibrational space. So, you know, for those that understand that, but it is a great place to be. And that's the kind of leader you want to be. You want to be the leader that can show up and still be very directive, to get answers or results, but still have empathy, right? Get the results, but still have empathy. Like, these are things that the combination of both are very, very important. So, you know, I think a lot of people think you have to only be one way in order to be successful. And that is a false narrative. And I think the more we can start having the conversation that uniqueness is great, as long as it's coming from you and it's not coming because you're shifting and trying to listen to what other people are saying. It's like, what are you wanting to be, right? What is your inner voice telling you? What's the alignment from your authentic place, your truest self? The other one is, you know, and this is funny because I don't think a lot of people have this. And sometimes, you know, it can truly backfire. But having the ability to trust in humankind, trust in each other, trust oneself, that is being in alignment, right? You have more of an optimistic view when you are able to trust people, trust that things are going to work out, being able to like delegate and work with a team and all that stuff. That is definitely something that is really important. Number 7 is being able to be your true self. Think about that. Being able to be your true self. So what does that look like for you? Right? Think about when no one's watching. What do you like? Are you the same person that shows up, or do you modify a little bit, or are you completely a different person? And I think that these pieces are really, really important, because what fun is that? You know, and I was one of them. So I'm not sitting here kind of saying, hey, you know, I know all. I've been through the process. And when you start to come through on the other side, and really it never ends. It's actually the most amazing process ever. When you learn to go on your own self-discovery to your authentic self, there is priceless, because there is a lot of undoing, but there's a lot of greatness that comes through. And there's so many possibilities that can come out of this entire situation. And when you understand that, it is soul filling. So it's sad to me when I feel as though there is people out there, and I was one of them. I was one of the people that went through the whole, I did everything that I was supposed to do. I, you know, had the career, the big career, went to school, you know, had the kids, did the whole thing. But when you get through the end of it and you realize you're still not fully fulfilled, then, you know, there's deeper questions. Why? And that's because I wasn't aligned to my story. I didn't own my story in its entirety. I did not see all the ways that I was getting in my own way from unleashing gifts that I have within. And here's the kicker, guys. It's not just me. You have gifts within you. You just have to have the opportunity to kind of go into it and discover what that is for you. And that to me is amazing. It is one of the most scariest things that you can go on, but fear is an illusion, right? False evidence appearing real. Once you push through that, it's like a plethora of knowledge and self-discovery and amazingness that comes your way. And when that happens, it's like you know, as my friend Kristen has said, you just want to scream it off mountaintops. And that's why we're here. That's why we want to make sure that other people understand that there's significance to having these conversations. You know, when I was younger, we weren't having these conversations. But now, you know, if we can lead by example and help people understand that your pains, your heartaches, your adversities, that's where the gifts lie. Believe it or not, don't hide them as though with shame, as though they're not something that is worthy. They are actually quite worthy, more so than some of the bright and shiny. Because when you learn to advocate and get through those situations, that is learning. That is where wisdom comes from, right? Wisdom is like, you know, mind, right? Your intellect and your experiences. So when you have that together, that is incredible. But you can't have that if you don't have life experiences. You can't gain wisdom. So this whole level of authenticity is just next level, next round, like it's an up level. Let's just put it that way. So that's why I think it's worth going on the personal explore. Okay, the next one is no hiding behind the mask. And we have many masks, guys. We sit there and we have so many. We have our mom mask for some. We have our work masks. We have our friend masks. But what if we could just take off the mask and just be? Can you imagine the amount of freedom? And, you know, what's interesting is that I've worked with people and they don't even realize that they're wearing a mask. You know, it's still stuck on, right? They don't take it off anymore. And they kind of lose a little sense of self. I have one leader in particular, it was so interesting. People would just be like, oh, that person is very unapproachable. I can't really connect with that person. But yet I had an amazing relationship with that person. But that was because when I worked with that leader, they had their mask down. And I had to have conversations about, I don't think you need this professional mask that you're putting on because it's actually putting people off. And when you understand that, then you might want to, because that individual did not want people not to find him approachable. So once he found that out, he could start to shift and change and do things a little bit differently. So I think it's just something to have awareness about. Are you wearing a mask? Are you wearing a mask that used to help you when you were a child and you're still wearing it now? It's probably keeping you from where you need to go. So, you know, it's really funny because when I think about all of this stuff, realistically, I'm like, we're really just getting in our own way. And when we think that it's not really important, or I need another book to tell me the way I need to be, if you start going on your self-discovery into who you are, you're not going to need as many books. I'll tell you that, because you're going to have a plethora of information coming your way and it will be fantastic. You won't need a mask because you're going to be showing up in a way that is your best self all the time. I'm not saying perfect. No one's asking for perfect, right? I'm asking for you to be connected with who you are. It's a humanity thing. If you're connected with who you are, then you can start to connect with other people. If you're not connected, it is not authentic and you're not really making a genuine shift in your relationships. Okay. Number 9, are you open to grow? Do you have willingness to grow? Or are you one of these people that's like, no, it's the way it is. I don't want change. I don't like it. Well, if you're never open, and it goes back to the whole piece around experience, if you're never open to growing, then you're dying. You're going the other direction, you know? So there's a reason why this whole piece around authenticity is so important because it's really about getting you back to yourself, rediscovering who you are and going from there. Okay. And then the last one, do you have the ability to empower others from an authentic place? Are you leading with empathy? Do you lead with heart? Think of the major leaders out there that speak to everyone, right? Like Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Gandhi. Those are just a few, okay? But these are leaders that led with heart. And this is something that is critical for us to kind of get reconnected with who we are. You cannot lead from heart if you don't know who you are. That is the most artificial thing I can just imagine. And people can sense if it's not real. So I think it's something to definitely think about, these things that I've brought up today, because I want you to align with your truest self. I want you to connect with who you are because you're amazing, just as you are now. And I think that that's another thing I could talk about forever, but I think that there is a trend where our society always tells us we're not good enough. So we carry these little shame buckets everywhere we go, like, oh God, I'm not good enough, I'm fat, I look like this, it's all physical appearance, it's internal, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough. Think about this stuff. It's ridiculous. So when you can start getting an alignment in your own personal truth, all that stuff hits the highway. It doesn't even matter anymore. So you don't think it's worth going on the Explorer to kind of see how far you can get to reconnect with yourself, because only good things will happen when you do. So thank you for listening to me for my first ever live. And, I've really enjoyed this. I know I had some company that popped in, and an amazing experience, but you'll see more of me. I love conversation. So please give me your thoughts, comments. If we can get more people to start getting reconnected with who they are, from a place of truth and compassion, great things are going to happen. I really want us to start using platforms on a more positive way, not I see so much out there where I just don't necessarily agree, because I feel like it's always confusing and telling people the way that they need to be or whatnot. I'm merely a guide. I'm merely showing a mirror just to, hey, isn't it worth the explore? And the reason why this connects to your leadership at work is because it's all connected. So until you start connecting with your story and owning it and with pride and moving forward, you're always going to be a little bit locked in. So take the time today, think about it, and like I said, I'm more interested in places where you've had adversity, not where there's glam and glitz, because adversity is where inspiration lies. And that is where we have a deeper connection to how we can inspire ourselves, inspire others from a whole different level. So again, keep in mind how to be authentic. It's a deeper dive. It's worth the explore. I'm telling you from personal experience, I was one of those fools. And I think it's a false narrative, since I'm like sharing everything today. I think it's a false narrative to say you never need to look back. You just move on. It's like things didn't happen. False narrative. Because if you don't look back and you don't own your story from a place of compassion, owning and learning and moving forward, not from a place of pain, you are pulling lead balloons or lead buckets into all chapters of your life. And it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. So for all those people, and I was one of them, where I was dragging these buckets in and I was pretending, I was just hiding them and pretending that it didn't really matter and no one ever could find out. And once I realized what a false narrative that is, I can put the buckets down and I can go live my life and I can go do these great things. So I want that for you. And, this is where we're going to have real talks, and this is where we're going to shift into a whole other area about you. and how to tap into you and get past the doubt, get past the judgment, get past the shame, and really be who you are meant to be. Because I'll tell you, from a place of truth, I know every single one of us has something to offer this world. And if you haven't tapped into it yet, it's just because you haven't gone into that personal discovery or a personal explore. Because when you do, it's fantastic, and it never ends, right? Like you keep learning new things, and I learned that I could paint. I didn't know I could paint, but it's fascinating when you start opening that door. So I will leave it there, my friends. Thank you so much. This was quite an experience. And like I said, number 9, I'm willing to grow. So I hopped on live today to really try something new. And what I will do, I'll put these points in the notes below. If it resonates with you, when this reaches you, please give me a follow, because I share tips and tricks to get you back to your best self. I'll talk to you later. Bye.